And now, News 4's Weather Extra with Chief Meteorologist David Paul.
Hey everyone, welcome into Weather Extra on this Wednesday evening as we track a lot of active weather ahead. Tomorrow, the warm up for what we will see this weekend. The weekend system looks potent. We were talking about that a week ago, and it still looks very, very strong. And the timing really hasn't changed Saturday night, early Sunday morning. The tomorrow system will be more of a lower end system, some gusty winds, some hail a possibility. Let's go to the future radar as we go through the overnight. Pretty quiet overall. Some cloud cover comes in as we work through tonight. Temperatures lower 50s, and then during the day tomorrow, warming up upper 60s, lower to middle 70s at midday. At that point, you see the specks of green and yellow showing up. Those are the storms that will be popping at that point. Midday into the afternoon, showers and storms moving on through. And this is a setup where any of these storms that form will be capable of producing some hail. The freezing level relatively low in the atmosphere. A pocket of cold air above moves on through, and as it does so, it will allow these storms to kind of pulse and produce some good updrafts, and the good updrafts means the potential for some hail. We saw some of that locally on Sunday, and a similar type setup more or less as we go through tomorrow with that cold air aloft moving on through with the warm and humid air. And part of the function of the warm sun is more rising air motion this time of year. So the stage is set for at least some small hail, pea-sized, maybe dime, maybe nickel-sized hail as we go through tomorrow. For more on hail, on how hail forms, here's meteorologist Zach Webster.
A few locations saw some small hail Sunday afternoon. It looks like there's another potential for us to see a little bit of hail with some of those storms that make their way across the region on Thursday. Let's take a look at how hail forms. We'll take you into the cloud of the thunderstorm toward the upper portions of that cloud of the thunderstorm where there's some super cooled liquid that once it crosses over that freezing level, it can form into a small stone of ice. Those storms also have updrafts that pull air from the surface up into the cloud, and eventually it pulls that up above the freezing level and eventually forms a small stone of ice. Eventually this stone gets too heavy for the updrafts and starts to fall back down the cloud. If we get another kind of big pull of an updraft, it pulls it back above that freezing level. So you wind up with this stone kind of bouncing back and forth up and down across that freezing level, and each time it does that, another layer of ice gets added to that stone. Eventually it gets to a point where that stone gets so big, so heavy that the updrafts just cannot support it at all. That's when it starts to fall back down to the surface. Stronger storms normally have stronger updrafts. That means it's crossing over that freezing level many more times, and that leads to a larger hailstone. Weaker storms usually have weaker updrafts. That leads to smaller hail sizes.
We will be watching for the hail as we go through tomorrow. Let's check out the setup in the atmosphere. We'll do a sounding review. We don't do this very often, but here's a look at the atmospheric profile across the area tomorrow at 2 p.m. And this is a lot to look at, I know. What I want to point out here are two things. On the right side, the potential hazard type severe. Hail is the severe potential tomorrow. The gusty winds, probably 40, 50 miles per hour. Technically, we would need 58 for a severe thunderstorm. But if we look at the atmospheric profile, the red line is the temperature line going up into the sky, the solid red line. The green line is the dew point. Notice as you go up a little bit higher into the atmosphere at about, say, 15,000 feet, there's a bit of a drier layer in the atmosphere. That drier layer is good for producing some hail. So we're watching for that potential as we go through tomorrow with that dry pocket up above. Come out to the one shot if you can, Cameron, with me. I want to kind of point this out. So there's that drier layer of air right here. So that's important if we break down the atmosphere. And as we look at other aspects of the atmosphere tomorrow, I want to show you this setup right here. These are winds in the atmosphere. They are not very strong. So if we get any gusty winds, it'll be downdraft winds from the thunderstorms that form. And we look at the CAPE, the convective available potential energy, and the CAPE tomorrow pretty high, over 1,700 joules per kilogram. You know, a cheat code for looking at wind potential is you take the square root of the CAPE. So the square root of 1,700 is roughly 40 miles per hour. That gives you kind of a ballpark of what the winds could be like in some of the thunderstorm gusts as we go through tomorrow. So hail, anywhere from pea size to nickel size. and the chance for some gusty winds 40 to 50 miles per hour tomorrow. Now Saturday night, a completely different setup in the atmosphere. I'm going to show you the wind structure, which is a whole lot stronger than it will be tomorrow, and look at some of the other parameters to produce severe weather this weekend. That's coming up next on Weather Extra.
And now, News 4's Weather Extra.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. You know, back in 1993 on this date, there was some snow falling in the Wiregrass, the storm of the century. Right now we're focused on something completely different. A piece of energy way out there in the Pacific is moving in our direction. That piece of energy will be bringing us showers and storms as we get into the weekend. Two disturbances move on through. The first one over the Midwest Saturday, and then later in the day, the southern disturbance brings showers and storms all the way through Mississippi into Alabama by the evening hours and overnight. 11 p.m. towards midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, showers and storms here. Some of those will be severe, and the severe risk will include tornadoes in the Wiregrass. There's the atmospheric setup for the middle of the night. A couple things here to point out. The model's pointing towards the potential hazard being tornadoes. Look at this. The wind structure in the atmosphere completely different. Very strong winds in the atmosphere, a dry layer as well that will produce some gusty winds and some hail and a lot of energy in the atmosphere. So there's a look at the wind flow in the atmosphere. Very strong shear, storm relative helicity, CAPE very high. These are the ingredients. The significant tornado parameter in place, low level jet in place, CAPE, the energy in place. We look at the future radar. Yeah, a lot of rain coming on through and a lot of lightning as well at 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So we are looking at all these different parameters, wind flow in the atmosphere, again, all the ingredients coming together. So a couple things to do between now and then. Pay close attention to the forecast daily. Make sure you have your batteries and emergency lights ready to go. And we have some other tips that we will throw online for you. Be ready, bottom line, some showers and storms and that chance for some strong storms for the overnight period, Saturday into early on Sunday. The biggest concern I have at this point is the chance for the tornadoes during the middle of the night. So have a way to get those weather warnings, because these warnings will mean business. And even without the tornadoes out there, some heavy rainfall and a lot of lightning. That's it for tonight. We'll have more on Weather Extra tomorrow night right here on News 4.